Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rise of the Podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Kara.
And I'm Keith.
And I'm Brownie.
And oh man, Keith, who's Keith? He's our special guest today. So, hey. Woo! Well, you introduce yourself, and then, we're going to learn a little bit more about you as we go on. But, Keith, what's your favorite comic book or nerdy thing?
Batman.
It's got to be
doubt.
Batman?
Definitely Batman.
I hope everybody could tell.
As the t-shirt shows, yeah.
So, let's just start. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Batman? Like, where and when did you start liking Batman? And tell me your history of growing up with comics and stuff.
I mean, as a little kid, it was Superman. When I was 4 or 5 years old, and then I'd say it was probably 1989, Tim Burton's Batman movie with Michael Keaton.
Yep.
That really converted me. I was 6 years old when that movie came out. So when my dad brought it home on VHS, it was like I was watching a horror movie.
Oh yeah.
It was
those ones were shot that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like dark, a little bit darker.
And then Tim Burton always has kind of a creepy feel to everything he does.
He certainly does, yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of scenes in that movie, like the surgery scene where Jack Napier becomes the Joker. Mm-hmm. It was a 6-year-old. That scared the bejesus out of me.
Right.
But still, I was obviously fascinated by it. And there's a lot of iconic shots of Batman, like him holding up his cape, that just kind of captivated me. And that's where it began.
Batman's pretty awesome. And so, Carrie, you've grown up with your brother loves Batman as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Steven torments AJ, one of your older brothers torments your younger brother by
saying Superman would lose to Batman.
Right.
That's what Steven says to AJ.
And so we were in our pre-discussion, we were talking about who would win and who would do that, stuff like that. But okay, so you mentioned the first Batman movie, and that was Michael Keaton, right?
Yep. Keaton,
and the Joker was the main antagonist in that one.
He sure
I remember
was.
The first one that I had seen that I can remember was the one with the Penguin.
Right.
And that was still Michael Keaton.
It wasn't Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito as the Penguin.
And the Penguins scared me.
Yeah.
92, I would have been 5. So, I would have been, probably didn't watch it right away, but I remember having the VHS.
Yep.
And when I did watch it, it was like, oh, that's a scary bad guy,
Yeah, that was one. My parents didn't let me go to theaters for that one, but I did see it on VHS. And so I guess I would have been 9 when that one came out. And there's some gory stuff in there, like the penguin bites that guy's nose, and in the end he's puking out like the black oil.
That's what got me, was the teeth. I remember the teeth in the smile when they had the oil or whatever that was.
Okay, so growing up, we used to listen to the cassette tape of Batman versus the Penguin. So now hearing what you guys are talking about, dude, Jesus, I am so happy.
Was it like an audiobook?
It was a story. It wasn't an audiobook like he said, she said.
Right.
It was actually a story. It was like
a radio play?
Kind of like a radio play,
cool.
yeah. So one side was Batman versus the Penguin, the other one was Catwoman.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I gotta find that. I never. It's on eBay for like $1.50.
Yeah, or $500. You never know. If it's a stiff bear,
right?
Right. If it's a stiff bear,
that's been. It's a tape that doesn't play anything. You can just own it and be like, oh, this is so cool. Right.
I should actually see if we still have it. My parents, they keep a lot of things, so
sure.
We'll see. They might still have that stored away somewhere.
It's pretty cool because I never knew that about Kara, that she used to listen to those.
We would put towels. We'd wrap towels around her necks, and I'd be Batgirl.
Yep.
And my older brother would be Batman, and then my dad would be the Penguin. So
my daughter, she's 2 years old, and she likes Batman quite a lot because we've gotten some Batman storybooks, and sometimes they'll put on some Batman cartoons like Brave and the Bold, or Adam West a few years ago did some cartoons that are in the style of the 60s show. Those are like direct-to-DVD movies. So in the morning, sometimes she'll be like, want to watch a Batman show? And I'm just like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? You brainwashed her.
Kara says all the time, our kids are just going to love Star Wars just because they're exposed to it.
They're going to be nerds.
Oh, man.
I told Jeremy, so twins run in both sides of our family. And I told Jeremy, I was like, if we have twins, I am 100% okay with naming them Luke and Leia.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they're both boys.
If they're both.
Right. Luke and Leo.
Leo. Oh, my God.
How's it going, Luke and not Luke? I borrowed Derek. We've talked about him before. My younger coworker, who is
Baby
20,
Stark.
Baby Stark. He borrowed him the movies, Star Wars, all 9 episodes on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever. And I asked him today, I'm like, have you watched one finally? And he goes, oh yeah, I did watch A New Hope. And that was it. I was like, dude, do you not like it? Tell me about it. And he's like, dude, they blew up the Death Star, and you got like Millennium Falcon and Han Solo and all these great characters. He's like, oh, they blew up the Death Star? I'm like, what movie did you watch? She goes, well, my mom put it on during dinner, and I guess I was busy eating. And I'm like, okay,
that's
all right.
not how you
I'm
watch
like, you
it.
need to sit
No,
down
that's not how
and
you watch
actually give it the respect it deserves.
I was gonna
Right.
say, it's like the episode of How I Met Your Mother.
Right.
When Ted really wants this
girl
girl
to like it.
like Star Wars, and so she watches it and just kind of like,
Yeah, so that like really cut me. But here's the problem. This is like he saw it post Endgame for an example, So it's like
Right.
you got all the action and all like probably to him that's a movie. So, but Star Wars is still an amazing movie. The original New Hope. It's got it's the epic space opera of our lifetime, and
so good.
That's my favorite one.
yeah, it is so good. It's a lot of people like Empire, but A New Hope that is
I
my
like
favorite
all of
movie.
them. I don't
Yep.
think any of the old ones are bad for me. I just love them.
I love the character development and how it goes through everything and stuff like that. But I just said we're not going to make this a Star Wars podcast. So
Old habits die hard.
I mean, we're going to venture into Star Wars.
yeah,
We totally are.
Well, so,
We totally are.
so in a similar vein, have you ever tried to expose somebody to Batman where they just did not give a crap?
Yes, absolutely, many times. And I've got quite the library of essential Batman comic books and graphic novels, and all the movies on DVD, all the good ones anyway.
In other words, not the Ben Affleck ones.
Let's not talk about that. No, I have mixed feelings on Batfleck. I'm sure we'll get into that
Batfleck,
sometime
yes.
this evening. But
I was gonna say, what about?
what about who?
We'll come back to
We'll
that.
come back to
We'll
that.
come back to that.
we
Okay.
got to get to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Keith has
So many
things to
many
say.
opinions. But yeah, I when it comes to getting someone who's just not interested into it, I try not to fight losing battles. It's like
Right,
I have
yeah.
materials that I can present to people. And if it just doesn't click, then it just doesn't click. And some people aren't into this nerdy stuff. And some people are going to have like it was fine.
Yeah.
Kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
reaction.
Yep.
And I'm like, I can't force it.
I can't,
As
yeah.
much as I love to force Batman
You will
on
love Batman.
everybody, it's just not going to work.
Have you run into anybody who's never seen any Batman?
Ooh. I think my wife is probably a good example where she was probably like, yeah, I've seen one of the Batman movies. Yeah, it was probably Batman Forever with Jack Nicholson. And I'm like, oh, right. And so then I obviously since we got together, we've probably watched all of them. All the
Right,
ones that I return
I was
to
gonna say,
regularly
what
anyway.
woman doesn't love the Christian Bale Batman?
That's the thing. I mean, she loves Christian Bale. Yeah, he's pretty steamy.
Yeah, he's steamy.
and
He's
the
a little
movies-
woo.
The movies are good, right? So they've got that going for them too.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, she's never gonna be what I am. with
Right.
Batman. Yeah, that's just not gonna happen.
Chris, you should fact check this, and it'd be interesting if they were close together. But I compare Christian Bale to the Batman series is Daniel Craig to me for the Bond series. It's like a lot of people love, the classic Bond.
Yes.
But Daniel Craig, at least with Casino Royale, I mean, that was an amazing theatrical experience because it was like that's how I
Skyfall
envisioned.
was good too, though.
Oh, I mean, he did Skyfall. Quantum was like, and then
It's like every other one is good.
Yes,
What-
I'm exactly with you guys
Yeah.
on
What
that.
do you want me to fact check?
Just when was Daniel Craig?
Casino Royale was 05.
So
And
when
Batman Begins is 05.
Oh, so
Yep.
cool! So it was like the
Oh,
same year. We
okay.
got all these new heroes. I knew they were
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
I just was wondering which one was like
So
first.
I couldn't remember
you know?
if I couldn't remember if it was 05 or 04.
Yeah, and I mean, they're both blockbusters, so I'm sure they were both in the summer. I know Batman got released in early June.
That's-
So yeah, I
I
mean,
definitely saw that in theaters. The moment I saw Christian Bale, I was like, need to go.
oh yeah, that was a midnight release for me for sure. A buddy of mine from New Paltz, that's in New York. Nobody around here. A buddy of mine from New Paltz, we drove down to the closest theater and watched it at midnight, and it was just, I was like, this is what I've always thought it should look like. And same thing with Casino Royale too, like the way Bond fights and
Right.
like the way he gets kind of beat up. He doesn't
Yeah.
just like beat up a bunch of guys and then just stand back up and go back to the poker game. Like
Yep.
he's got to fix himself, and I
Yep.
like that. That was cool.
I love that too. Yeah, it was just and that's what I had envisioned. There was like Star Wars is funny because it's got humor and it's got a blend of all that stuff. But Bond maybe had a little too much humor. And so how they played the humor out in Christian Bale was kind of like Han Solo's humor. It was a little arrogant humor, and it was just sprinkled in, and then the rest of it was, a lot of bad buttery, bad badassery.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was like,
Yeah,
I was like butter. What?
yeah,
I
bad
was
butt.
confused too. I was like,
I've
buttery? What?
tried to avoid using,
Of the words, I think that's pretty low on the flag.
yeah,
list.
low on the pole. But so he played an awesome Bond, and so that was pretty cool. So out of all I loved so growing up, it was the Batman Forever with Val Kilmer. That was the one that I had seen. It's no Christian Bale. It's no Keith, who played the Batman and the Joker, and like in the Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
No Keith.
No, yeah, Keith. I was a kid,
but that one was awesome for me because growing up I had seen funny movies with Jim Carrey, and so seeing him as the Riddler was a blast. And it wasn't as overdone as Batman Forever, the next one with George Clooney.
That one is George Clooney. That one's Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Batman
Forever is the one that you're thinking of.
Okay,
Yeah.
Batman Forever. So
Batman Forever. I think that one. It's got a lot of great Batman and Bruce Wayne stuff. I think Val Kilmer, he does great.
Yeah.
The writers handled his character really well. I think the villains are too campy. So then the film kind of gets lost between 89 Batman and 66 Batman, where it's are we camp or are we serious? And we don't really know. So in that regard, I think it kind of missed the mark. I would have loved to see Tommy Lee Jones play Two-Face, though. I think that is great casting. And if he had been given
the whole movie, maybe,
or just the right script to do it seriously, you
Yeah.
know, I think, man, what awesome casting. And honestly, Jim Carrey too as the Riddler. I think that's good casting as well.
It was fun for me. And then there was all the video games that were around back then. And then
the Genesis game was.
But
great.
that was one of my first graphic novels. Was Batman Forever's graphic novel, and I loved that movie so much. So it was I could read the graphic novel, and it was fun to have that as an accessory to the movie. It gives you a different perspective of some of the scenes, and it's fun because you can read it at your own pace and make that fun of it. So. So now that we've got there and we got all these, who's your favorite Batman, you think?
Actor, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale,
Christian
yeah.
Bale.
Right. They did such a good job with those movies.
Oh, I was
and
gonna say, leave me hanging.
Oh, I totally just left you hanging. I thought you were doing one of these. So yeah. But yeah, Christian Bale. I mean, the voice, right? The Batman voice.
Yeah.
People pick on the Batman voice, which I totally get.
Will Arnett.
He's got kind of a weird Batman voice, but
Will Arnett in the
That
Lego
sounded
movie.
like the Joker
Yes.
doing the Batman.
yes, but I mean, Will Arnett though. I mean, he's a very different kind of Batman. Also really, really great in his own right.
Yeah.
So
I'm Batman.
So you've seen the Lego Batman movie, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion of that in the canon of Batman?
Honestly, I only watched it once and I loved it so much, but they were throwing so much at me so fast where I can't even keep up with all the Bat references in this.
Yeah, so they had the Eye, Lord of the Rings.
Sauron?
Yep.
Sauron was in. It's oh my eye! There was so much constantly.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like a big
pop
culture shotgun effect.
Yeah,
It was. It really
It
was.
was a confetti cannon of pop
Yes.
culture.
Yep.
So Kara, you can go ahead and now bring up what you're gonna because we're talking about actors. So
We're talking about actors.
Kara was trying to.
So Ben Affleck was kind of right. What are you thinking about the new casting?
Yeah, I mean,
Robert Pattinson.
I'm all for it, honestly.
Really?
Because the
Whoa.
guy can act. I think he had an unfortunate start to his career, in that he's known as the Twilight guy.
He had typecast,
Edward.
right?
Yep.
Well, so
Edward?
he was in Harry Potter before he was in that, and he was good in Harry Potter.
Okay, and every time I see that, I'm like,
But-
that's Robert Pattinson, and
It's just like you can only do so much with so this is obviously purely opinion, but bad source material makes for bad movies.
Well, people say that about
Right.
Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, well, so I think that the character choices that were made to make him so whiny and angsty were just a little bit too much. You could have that, but just not as much. We're not talking about Star Wars.
I know.
I mean, I think the two are pretty comparable, though.
Yeah, no, that I think that is a fair point. It's just too much.
Right.
Of the, so the angsty drama.
Yep.
But yeah, but I'm totally want to see what he can bring to the role.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think we're in store for something very different because the director Matt Reeves, he did the last two Planet of the Apes movies.
Oh, cool.
Which are very, obviously very CG heavy, motion capture heavy. They've got Andy Serkis, being an ape and stuff. So I think this director can hopefully bring something totally new to the film version of the character.
Right.
When I heard Matt Reeves, I don't know if he's going to do this, but my first thought was oh man, we got to get a really great sci-fi Mr. Freeze.
Oh,
in
yeah.
these movies.
Yeah.
I think he's a great director for that. And so if if he chose Robert Pattinson's for his version of Batman, I'm with it. I'm all for it. Let's do it.
That would be pretty cool.
You're not gonna put it on the chopping block before you see it.
No, I've never been one of those fans that signs petitions. I think it's a waste of time.
It is.
And it's
Well,
just-
the Sonic one worked apparently.
Sort
Apparently
of. Was that a petition or just an outrage?
I think that was just the
actually.
social media backlash.
I
was
was.
so severe.
Right, and I think that just looked objectively terrible.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't look at it and be like, that's Sonic. It's like, that's like a horrible, like, person cosplaying as Sonic.
Right.
Worst cosplay of Comic-Con.
Yeah, that thing, it was like too human looking. Like
It
in the
was,
eyes,
absolutely.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah, the eyes weren't big enough. The teeth were people teeth. It's like when you ever see people photoshopping people teeth onto animals like dogs.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And it's like
very.
they look hilarious. Right.
Right.
Like
Yep.
I would make a movie about that
It's
animal.
creepy.
right.
Yeah.
Right, it exists in this weird uncanny valley. I'm not sure where it is in the uncanny valley, but there was definitely something wrong
In the
with it.
weirdest
Yeah.
corner of the uncanny valley.
Right.
Well, and even in my mind, there's only really two rough versions of Sonic. Even from the Sega Genesis games, he has that kind of arcadey look, and then there was the one cartoon. There's both two cartoons, but one was more cartoony, and then there was the one that kind of mimicked the video game Sonic.
Oh, I don't know that I've seen that one.
Yeah, that one's really good.
Yeah.
The more arcadey one is a little bit more darker.
Cool.
Robotnik's a little bit more evil. There's more like sludge and stuff throughout the
Speaking of
environment.
Jim Carrey, I just
Yeah.
realized Jim Carrey's
Dr. Robotnik.
in the Sonic movie.
That was the
Oh,
best
yes,
part of the
it
trailer.
is.
That's the best
Yeah.
part of that trailer.
and this movie could be good.
Yeah.
Right. Did they get Jaleel White to do the voice of Sonic?
I don't
For
know.
this movie?
I'm not sure. We'll have to.
We ought to look that up. So Jaleel White, he's Urkel, right, from Family Matters.
Yeah.
And he did the voice in the cartoon, and then he also did the voice of Sonic in some independent film. It was like a short, like a 5-minute short that was
Right.
on YouTube, probably 10 years ago. So yeah, I meant to look that up. I think when the trailer came out, and I never did.
If it's the same one, that would be cool.
It would be pretty.
Because again, I watched the Sonic cartoon show, and so
Well, the consistency would be sweet because, like, one thing I've loved is Darth Vader has always been
James
James Earl
Earl
Jones.
Jones.
Yeah.
Or
Mufasa.
anybody speaking into a fan.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Mufasa, he was James Earl Jones in the original and in the new one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Was
So-
he the only one that stuck around between the live action and
I think
animated?
so.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, he's got such an iconic voice.
'Cause
He's hard
James-
to replace.
JTT, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Why did I say James? Jonathan Taylor Thomas did Simba, young Simba.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
Oh,
fairly
okay.
certain he didn't do the new Simba.
Right.
Yeah, well,
probably not.
he's not a child anymore,
Well,
so it'd
yeah.
be kind of hard.
Was it in the original was Matthew Broderick, right?
Yep.
Who did adult Simba? They
Yeah.
didn't bring him back.
No,
I don't think
think
so.
so.
Matthew
In the
Broderick's
cast-
career just like suddenly died in like the
Yeah.
mid 2000s.
Well, he does a lot of Broadway stuff now, I think.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, my
like,
sister
I knew
is
that he
into
did
all
Broadway
that
stuff, but I
so-
didn't know if it's just I never hear about him anymore.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing movies, but I think he's still active.
Okay.
I
He
don't
was
know.
Inspector Gadget, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
That was
Yeah.
like the last big thing I remember
Yeah.
him being in. And then French Stewart, shout out to French Stewart, another guy who's disappeared off the face of the planet.
I don't even know who that is.
He played in the sequel to Inspector Gadget, he played Inspector Gadget, who Matthew Broderick didn't want to come back, but he played. Do you remember Third Rock from the Sun?
Yeah.
he was one of the aliens from Third Rock from the Sun. There was John Lithgow, then there was
Oh,
the
yeah.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he was the other male alien. Was French Stewart?
Joseph
Oh,
Gordon-Levitt.
okay, yeah.
I'm
And-
kind of sad that they never pushed his character forward in the Batman. Christian Bale Batman?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the third
Yeah.
one.
It's
yeah.
Robin, right? Or
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Robin, but they never really expanded on that. It was kind of
I know.
And they knew it was only going to be a trilogy, and they kind of just sort of put it there and never did anything with
Yeah,
it.
it's like
Right.
you had so much to do. Come on.
And,
Right.
You know, I don't know if you guys remember the cartoon Batman Beyond from the mid to late 90s.
Yes. Are they redoing that or remaking it?
I don't think so, but I mean, I think myself and a lot of other fanboys kind of always envisioned Joseph Gordon-Levitt becoming more of like a Batman Beyond
Right.
type character, where he's like, he's got jetpacks and these like metallic like jetpack wings, and he's got all these like lasers that come out of his arms.
Right.
Well, that's
So
cool.
like less of a Robin and more of like a second Batman. I
Is
think
that
would have
the-
been awesome.
Is that it's a cartoon, right?
Yep. it's
And-
cartoon.
Yeah, it's got like
That's-
a really like noir style.
Yes,
to
that's
it,
what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah.
He's very.
From what I'm.
There's even more. There's like a unique fighting or kung fu style kind of too. Or is it
Yeah.
more gadgety?
It's pretty gadgety.
Yeah, it's pretty gadgety.
I mean, I would say he's more of like a ninja probably than original Batman was.
See
But
those were the cartoons I used to watch too. Those were late. There's like around like SpongeBob came out in '99. That was kind of like that time frame, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Around then. Yeah.
I loved those ones. So Okay, so movies. We're talking about all these movies. Mm-hmm. Do you love the theater experience, like going to a theater?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, have you ever been to an Alamo Draft House?
I have not. I've never been to an Alamo Draft House, but I've been to Alamo Draft House style screenings of various movies. Yeah,
we went to one when we were down in Austin, and Chris, you need to go to one. So I was just saying it might be fun for the Robert Pattinson Batman to go down to an Alamo Draft House and watch it down there.
You'd have to get in line for that.
Well, we could go see it.
They don't have like digital placeholder reservations.
I don't think for that. And
I think at this point,
nobody
that'd be
under
pretty
18.
standard.
So do they do like big releases? I thought Alamo Draft House was kind of reserved for like quirky indie movies or like cult classics.
We
and
saw
stuff like
Incredibles
that.
2.
We saw The
when we were in
Incredibles
Austin.
Oh, cool.
2 at the one, but Austin, they've got to be based out of Austin. I'm assuming only because there's
They have
like
a bunch of them
I was gonna
down
say there's
Right.
like 5 or 6 of them down there, and they've got all the ones you can go to the one on whatever streets down there. But
We passed by one on the way to California, didn't we?
I think
Wasn't
so.
it in Vegas or something?
It might have.
I think we
been in
saw
that
one.
area.
Right.
But it's just that is a fun way to go to the movies.
It's quite
Right.
the experience.
Yeah.
My best Batman theater experience was the night of The Dark Knight Rises. So the local theater was doing a midnight screening, but prior to that, they screened Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Oh, cool.
So I think all told, what is that? That's like about 7 hours a movie.
Yeah.
And they give you a 15-minute break in between so that you can run to, get popcorn or snacks or whatever you need to get. But yeah, so the whole trilogy, all in one shot. By the time The Dark Knight Rises ended, I had to pee worse than I've ever had to pee in my entire life.
yeah.
And that was when, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going into the Batcave, and I'm like, this is great. I got to go to the bathroom so bad. But I mean, it was so awesome to see all those 3 movies in a row. I don't know, have you guys ever
so
done
cool.
a Star Wars equivalent of that?
Not in
I don't know if
theaters.
they've
Okay.
had that.
Yeah, not in theaters.
Because how long would that be with all the prequels, the original?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
man.
I don't know if anybody
Yeah.
would do well for The Last Jedi. Some theater, like some big theaters, like maybe one in California or something like that, did a whole run.
Of the original
Yeah,
trilogy
one-
and the prequels.
Yep,
And, wow.
they did the whole run, and it was a lot of hours.
We got to think
Right.
they're
A
pretty
lot
close
of
to
hours.
2.5 hours each, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So times that
That's
by
five,
this
so
point,
it's 7.5, 15.
I think it was almost 24
yeah,
hours. If that.
pretty close to 20. Like, so if they did it for this one, it'd be almost 24 hours.
Right.
Wow.
But I would do a trilogy for sure. Like if
Yeah.
they ever did 4, 5, and 6 back to back in a theater,
Oh my
I would
God.
go do
That'd
that.
be
Yeah.
amazing.
I saw a theater in Chicago is doing A New Hope in theaters again. And I would love to go
Original
see
release
the original.
or,
I'm sure it's
or-
the special edition.
There's some word on the street that it's getting done in 4K. There's
Yes.
going to be a 4K version of Star Wars coming out.
Cool.
And they might do the original.
If they
in
don't, if they
4K.
don't do the theatrical cut in 4K, it's never coming out again.
Right.
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 That's just at this point. Like they've had so many chances to give people the theatrical cut again,
I would love
Right.
a theatrical cut.
and it's just never going to happen
Well-
if it doesn't happen for the 4K release.
So a friend of mine who's a big Star Wars fan, he got some kind of special edition box set Super Star Wars thing. I don't know. I'm going to say like 2009-ish. And so we all go to his house and we're going to watch the original version of Star Wars the movie,
Yep.
And we're all excited about it. And so we put it in, and it's letterboxed and pillar boxed.
No.
Yeah, and we're watching it on his beautiful
16 by 9, 4 by 3.
Yeah, and so we're like, what the hell is this? Because and so then we go and we put on the special edition version, and that is letterbox as it's supposed to be, but it's not pillar box. So you're
Right.
watching it the way it's intended to. So
Right.
we're like, okay, you put it on the DVD set, but you made it kind of unwatchable,
Right.
Which was really disappointing. I don't know if you guys have that particular box set or not.
I did growing up, and then it's like, where does that stuff go when you move? Because what I covet now is different than what I loved back. So I wish I still had the box set. My buddy used to work at a video rental store, so it was like I got, again after the fact, I got like the old VHS that were the theatrical cut. So it's, I've had them and then I lose them, and
One
now
time I
if
was
I
at
had 'em-
Goodwill in Brainerd, and I found the trilogy box set, like special edition VHS.
Oh, that's cool.
With
yeah.
special edition, like pre-90s re-release.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like it's original. It's super
Yeah.
cool. Like I bought it. It was like $5, I think.
And then where is
$8.
it?
My dad has it. I gave it to my dad.
Does he still have it?
You better.
Well,
yeah.
Tim, we're coming for it. Take that back. Okay, So
Well, I have a couple more Batman-related questions.
Okay, no,
Seems like
go
you're
ahead.
getting ready to do a topic change, and I'm not ready for that just yet.
I was going to ask for
Batman.
for cool Batman facts. but
Oh,
you-
okay. Well,
you
so
do
before
you.
Batman, so we were talking about like characters and stuff a little bit, and like people's favorite version. So Michael Keaton is mine, by the way. I
he's
like the
great.
like because that was the first one to me. That was like, it's like that sets the bar for Batman. And
Right.
other people have done like really great jobs, but it's like that's Batman to me is Michael Keaton. So you talked a little bit about if they could do like a good like Victor Freeze, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are your like? So if you had to do like top 5 Batman villains.
Ooh,
Okay,
okay.
that's a good one.
Because like it might be like the general list that people might know, but maybe you have some insight into a couple of ones that might be cool that people wouldn't be as familiar with. Because
Okay.
it seems like they recycle the same like half dozen always. But
They kind of do, and so like a lot of my top picks are going to be those 5,
Right.
Or those ones that everybody's used to seeing over and over again. I think my number 5 will be one that has not been done in live action, and that's Scarface / the ventriloquist.
Oh,
So the ventriloquist is this really meek guy that I've always imagined being played by William H. Macy or somebody.
oh yeah, great actor.
He's
oh, I love
awesome,
him.
right? And he's got this dummy that, is the one who's really in charge, who's this, like, just badass gangster.
That's cool.
And there's nothing supernatural about it. Like, it's all psychological. And
So it's
so...
like schizophrenic almost?
Oh,
Yeah, he's-
funny
he's
split personality,
schizophrenic.
but the one
Okay.
in the cool.
Yep. And so, the puppet is kind of like the dominant personality, and then the ventriloquist is kind of meek. But as a villain, he's really dangerous. He was done really well in Batman the Animated Series, and I've always thought he'd make a great live-action villain. But we haven't gotten him yet.
There you go.
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it does.
He's super cool.
Well, especially William H. Macy is like Jurassic Park, the third one. He tricks.
Yeah.
I'm just. Do you know who William H. Macy is?
I'm trying to envision who this is in Jurassic Park, the 3.
So they convince Dr. Alan Grant to go back to the island. He lies to him about his son. It's that pilot the
All right.
guy who lies to Alan Grant about taking him back.
What
to
a
Jurassic Park.
random
Also-
movie to showcase.
Well,
William
I know
H.
he's
Macy.
he's famous for a lot of other movies, but for some reason that's always the one that sticks in my brain.
Well, do you guys know Fargo? The movie?
Not the movie.
I
I've seen the
haven't.
TV show.
I was going to say, I don't know if I want to watch that when I hear people go through a wood chopping
Yeah.
That's at the very end. You just know.
yeah,
that it's coming.
it gets pretty violent. Anyway,
grody.
I guess I can't think of anything else. He's great, though. He's
Yeah,
great.
he is really good.
There's a TV show that he's in right
Shameless,
now.
yeah.
So that's what I think
Which
would be
one?
the.
Yeah, Shameless. You haven't,
Oh, of
yeah.
Oh,
course.
no, I haven't seen
Shameless,
Shameless.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, Shameless is good.
Okay.
But okay, so and then that was number 5. Would it be assuming like in some order? You got the Joker.
Right, we'll go with number 5. It's for him. So then Mr. Freeze, I guess, can be number 4. He's got a really tragic backstory, so he's one of those villains that you can kind of feel for.
Right.
And you kind of
I-
understand what they're
I
coming.
really like his backstory.
Yeah, and
I don't know his backstory.
He was experimenting with various temperature dropping chemicals, and there was an accident not caused by him but caused by his greedy capitalist employer
Yep.
that injured his wife. So his wife kind of went into this cryo freeze. Mr. Freeze found a way to keep himself alive in this suit, so he's searching for a cure for his wife. But through this whole process, he kind of goes mad and commits all these crimes, and
Oh.
so Batman's got to go after him. But it's kind of one of these like, Victor, let me help you.
Yes.
Together we can save your wife. And he's,
Yes.
So he didn't
I'm
start
too far
bad.
gone.
No,
Right.
no.
so
He's
good.
like,
No.
what's his face from Breaking Bad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Starts
yeah,
out with like a good motive.
Yeah.
Well, not it's.
Okay, quick
And
Breaking Bad
actually,
break. They
that-
they dropped the Breaking Bad movie trailer.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so it's gonna
Like
be on Netflix.
today or
Yeah, it was like
something?
yesterday night. I
Oh
think.
my God.
So in October, the Breaking Bad movie is gonna be streaming on Netflix.
Oh, that's not theatrical. It's just straight to Netflix.
Straight to Netflix.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did
That's really great.
is it going to have?
It's called El Camino.
Does it have Bryan Cranston in it or no? Or is it Better Call Saul version? Which is, I love that show though.
Yeah, great show.
I haven't watched it yet. I saw that the tweet or something. Somebody tweeted about it like right before I left to come here.
Nice.
I can't explain enough how much I like. Who's the lawyer? The actor who plays
Bob
the lawyer?
Odenkirk.
Yeah.
He's
I
hilarious.
love Bob
yeah,
He's a
he's
great
so
He's really
comedy
good.
actor.
He is really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even like in The Office, he did his little cameo. He's
Yeah.
like the other Michael Scott, but just worse or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh,
Pam
he was
is
one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Pam
forgot
leaves
about
the
that.
office to go work for a different office, and they do a zoom in. She's like, "I'm basically working for another Michael
Michael
Scott."
Scott. Yeah.
Oh my God! So
Yeah.
I've definitely watched The Office all the way through, but that was before I got into Breaking Bad, so
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Bob
who he was at the
Odenkirk
time.
is the other Michael Scott.
Oh, that's amazing.
He's so funny.
so funny.
I think
and
they
awesome.
have like the same posters hanging
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Like you walk in as world's greatest boss and all
Yeah.
that.
Oh my
And-
God.
But he played in Fargo, the TV show.
I haven't seen the TV show.
Yeah, and the big name actors, like you've got Martin Freeman, you've
Ewan
got
McGregor.
Ewan McGregor, Bob Odenkirk, you've got Billy Bob Thornton.
Who's
You've
the
got
girl
he
that I
played
look
Lupin.
like?
He played Lupin in
I forget what his name is.
in Harry Potter. He
okay.
plays in. I love him. Oh, he's an interesting villain as well because.
Don't give away too much because I haven't seen all of Fargo.
He's evil, but he's bulimic as well.
Okay.
And so he goes in there, and it's just the way that it just adds that little bit of an extra depth to you. Wonder, about it. Just I don't know. It's really good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to send us down this rabbit trail, but I'm like,
sorry,
that was something
yeah.
I'm excited
We
with. I just want
like
to touch on a
rabbit
little bit
trails
was
here.
about the Breaking Bad movie.
Bryan Cranston would probably be a good Mr. Freeze. So.
Oh my
Circling back.
God, he would
Yeah.
be an amazing Mr.
He
Freeze.
was.
And so, another rabbit trail. When in college, when I went into my chemistry class, my professor looks exactly like Walter White.
Oh my God.
Huge
Chemistry,
glasses.
right?
Chemistry, yeah.
Yeah.
Chemistry,
Wow.
right?
He had to lean into it.
Huge glasses, bald on top, goatee, and he was hacking up a lung because he was sick. And so my first thought was, Walter White.
Yeah.
You know?
If you guys just called him Heisenberg, would he have gotten it?
He probably would have. I feel he would have.
He's got to be that self-aware.
He
that
was-
Yeah.
he
he
leans
was
into the stereotype.
Funny.
And,
I
cool.
loved him. I aced chemistry because of him.
Oh, nice.
well, when Walter White's your teacher, it's probably easy to pay
Seriously?
attention.
Right.
You're like Heisenberg. Yeah.
He's blind as a bat too. So whenever you'd bring up a question for him or you wanted to look at something, he had a magnifying glass on his desk, and so he'd take it and he'd put underneath and he'd put on his glass and he'd lean in real far and try to see what it said. He was so nice.
Nice.
I loved him. Anyway,
That's
sorry,
awesome.
rabbit trail.
So
Okay, so
so we did
ventriloquist,
and then
Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
I'll just go through the last three. We'll just rattle them off. So number 3 would be Black Mask, who is kind of a tragic gangster. They're Batman characters, so they've all got tragic pasts.
Right.
But we're gonna see him pretty soon in the movies, played by Ewan McGregor.
No way.
Yeah,
That's
so he's
cool.
gonna be in a movie called Harley Quinn, or I'm sorry, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous
Ewan McGregor's
something
in
of
this?
Harley Quinn. Yep.
You know I'm gonna watch that.
So that movie's gonna be pretty cool, I think. And then number 2 is Two-Face because he's tragic.
Yeah.
And-
we've never gotten to see a real the on film. I think because we had like you said the Tommy Lee Jones one where it was just sort of straddling this weird line between
Right.
camp and-
Two-Face was in one of the.
But
Right.
he
Right.
died at the end of the. He never got to
It's
do
true.
anything Two-Face really except for the last 25 minutes of the
Right.
film.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah,
He's never gotten to carry a whole movie on his own. I think that'd be
That's
really
true.
cool.
that's kind of one of the things I like about the Nolan movies. Some fans have complained about this. Like Two-Face was Two-Face for like 7 hours.
Right.
And I'm like, well, when you think about a guy who like gets half his face burned off and
Right.
goes on a killing spree. These
He might
movies
not last
were
that
supposed
long.
to be
Right.
realistic. Like, how
Right.
long do you expect this to go on
Right.
for? Probably like 7 hours.
Right.
That's fair.
So and so I really like that. But as you say, like it would be great to see Two-Face, like a full-on Two-Face movie where you get to see him doing stuff for an entire story. That would be
Yeah,
cool.
and when you put it that way, it's like you got the Tommy Lee Jones one was very comical or so because he's like he's got time to match his attire to his face
Oh, yeah.
and stuff like
Right.
that versus the Nolan one just gets blown up and then goes on his his killing
The side of
spree,
his
so-
face looks creepy. Like you
did he
see
rolls
teeth
over
through
his
the
eyeball
cheek
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's waiting. That's
Yeah.
gangrene just waiting to happen there.
It was.
So he's got that's
He's definitely getting MRSA
Dehydration waiting
then, huh?
to
yeah,
happen.
right. He's
One cool thing. So should I go on a visual effects rant real
Yeah,
quick?
absolutely.
So Nolan is known for being very light on visual effects. He'll do like wire removal and some green screen when he has to, but he doesn't like really using a lot of CG. But he did use CG for Two-Face. And I believe they did some makeup tests, and obviously Tommy Lee Jones was makeup.
Right.
But he came to the conclusion that makeup can only be additive, right? You can only add to what's there, and a burn is
subtractive,
right? So all they could do was add to Aaron Eckhart, that's the actor. They could only add to his face. They're like, well, we got to do it CG. So they put the little dots on his face and did motion capture and did the rest in CG. And I honestly think it looks amazing.
Oh,
It looks really
fine.
good.
I think it looks great. Too.
I won't
Yeah.
forget the moment when he rolled over in the room or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And you could see his eye, and it looked fantastic.
I mean, I think if you're doing a CG shot where everything is real except for this one effect,
Right.
I think it's a little easier to pull it off than trying to create a whole world and make it
Right.
look realistic. So
And the episode of Monk we watched last night, the hot air
Spoilers for 10 years ago.
the hot air balloon crashed in the water side, and it looked like a Microsoft Paint clip when it was washing in the ocean and hanging on the ledge. And then you could totally tell it switched to a stunt double that was when One Punch Man is looking for the Chironko wig. That's what Mr. Monk looked like, bouncing around inside there with like no limbs moving, and he just had this
It's
cheesy
true.
Monk wig. It was so funny. It was such a good show.
I love Monk.
I was
It's
like,
a-
the bar for that CGI was a little low.
Well,
but
it's a TV show
I
in the
know,
early
right.
2000s.
Exactly.
The CG
Right.
budget wasn't outrageous.
Right.
Right.
But it was so comical to me. But sorry to go down that little tangent there too. But you mentioned that the
right,
CFX
yeah,
thing. So
that's what we're doing. We're doing tangents. It's okay.
it happens
That's what
so
our
much.
podcasts
Yep.
are.
Yeah, we should just call ourselves the Tangent.
Rise
Right?
of the tangents.
Yeah, that's literally what this is. So
So okay, so we've talked about Batman, and
Wait,
for
do
sure.
we-
we
number
gotta
one?
get his number one.
Oh, we're not even
Yeah.
I
on
mean,
one.
it's
Sorry.
obvious. It's the Joker
Yeah.
because he's just the coolest.
Who's your favorite
Yeah.
Joker?
Heath Ledger.
Yeah,
I
So what I was
Okay,
gonna.
so speaking of Heath Ledger as the Joker, apparently he got so into it, like he got insomnia from it, and like kind of went not
But
crazy.
it happened to
But
Jack
the-
Nicholson as well,
The
correct?
medications he was on, he overdosed on them, or that killed him.
Yep.
There's a documentary out there. I think it's called I Am Heath that I've really been wanting to watch. I'm not sure how much it goes into like the Joker stuff, but yeah, there's been a lot of rumors
Yeah.
about that kind of thing happening to him. I have no idea what's true, but
Right.
maybe this documentary
I loved
will tell
Heath
us.
Ledger.
Yeah, he was great. He was
A
wonderful.
Knight's Tale.
Yeah, that's the
Oh
only
my
movie
God,
you ever
yeah.
bring up.
I'm sorry, but
It's such a good
sorry,
movie.
Yeah.
10 Things I Hate About You. How's that one?
I'm
so good.
I'm not familiar with that film. At
That's
least I've
also a
seen
good
Night
movie.
Tale.
I mean, if you
Yes,
can
it
can get through rom-coms, which I can, I think that's a great movie.
That's a prerequisite to get married. Is you have to be able to sit there.
Well, okay, here's the thing. How many rom-coms have we watched since we got married?
I am lucky. So I had a coworker who came up to me and they're like, either you and Kara are just a really cute couple, or you two hate each other, you don't live together, and it's all a ruse. And I was like, no, it's not a ruse, And so she's like, well, then you guys are a cute couple. So, but no, we don't watch rom-coms. We nerd out on Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and Batman and Wonder Woman and
Yeah. Once in a blue moon, I make him watch one. I
Is it
get
the
in the
Lake
mood
House?
for a romantic movie.
No, and it's
It's not
no.
very often.
No, the
Notebook.
musicals are what she goes for.
Oh.
So South Pacific
no.
and what was the one you asked me to watch today?
Newsies.
Newsies.
Super good movie. Christian Bale.
That also, but that was one of his earlier ones too,
Yeah,
right? He's
he
like a
was
teenager
probably
in that.
he was probably like 17, I think, when that.
Wow.
Dang,
So-
super young Christian
Yeah.
Bale.
Yeah.
So Kara's like rom-com musicals, musicals all the way.
Have you seen the trailer for Cats?
Oh.
Okay,
There's
I don't
some
know.
uncanny
Taylor,
valley
is it
stuff
like
happening
Selena
there.
Gomez, Taylor Swift, and Miley Cyrus? Is that are those?
Taylor Swift for sure. I'm not
Yeah.
sure about the other two.
I am not looking forward to this. It looks creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the CGI is nuts.
Yeah.
And but so here's time for me to tell a story.
Yeah.
So growing up, I don't know where this tape came from, but there's like a taped like 1996 Broadway version of Cats.
in your house
Yeah, like
that you had access to.
Well, that my sister had access to is the
Okay.
problem.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So she would watch this thing. I swear to God, she would watch this twice a day for 15 years. It's just like
that's a good quality VHS.
it's like
Right.
I'm sure it was just static by the end. But
Right.
it was.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things she loved it, and she has the soundtrack on a CD in her car. Literally right now, if I called her, she'd be like, "Yep, it's right here. One of your Jellicle Cats."
Oh, God.
And it's like, so she just loves it so much, and it's like it doesn't make nothing in the thing makes sense at all, right? And I've never been a fan of like the show tune style. Like I like Andrew Lloyd Webber, okay.
Phantom of the
But-
Opera.
But
All day.
like I like the stuff that's more rock and rolly that he does than the stuff that's more classical. And the Cat stuff is really more.
classical.
So you like
Classical.
Phantom of the Opera then?
I've seen a version of Phantom of the Opera and it's fine.
Have you watched the Gerard Butler Phantom of the Opera.
Does he say
Shark
this is the
Opera.
Phantom of the Opera and kick somebody into a pipe organ?
This is Phantom of the Opera.
If that's the case, I'll watch it right now.
I did not know that he was in a Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, he's Phantom. That was probably 2008-ish.
Whoa.
So
Yeah.
he was definitely still ripped then in that.
Oh, yeah,
it was.
Yeah, right, because
Sorry.
300
Sorry,
was-
Jeremy, I love
Yeah,
you.
Yeah. But
Man.
anyway,
I changed my mind. It's a ruse. Kara's been talking about Gerard Butler and Christian Bale. Yeah,
Pleasure.
Woo, let's just throw Neville Longbottom, and that's
Yeah.
it. You
He's
know.
so woo.
Yeah, that was from a Lego video.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we didn't.
Do I
She
know
was
who
talking
Neville
about how-
Longbottom is?
Harry Potter.
Oh, Harry Potter.
he was the one who
okay.
looked really derpy and then ended up turning out super handsome.
I
Yeah.
am really not good with the Harry Potter stuff.
Got it,
I don't
got
know
it.
my
I-
Harry Potter.
yeah.
I've seen every movie one time, but when I go in to watch the new one, when there were still new ones coming out, I don't remember anything from the previous ones. I
Got it.
just go in and I enjoy them, and I'm like, that was good.
Yeah.
Magic.
That's magic.
So earlier we talked about. I heard somebody drop Miley Cyrus in reference to a musical. I was talking to one of my coworkers about Black Mirror. And he
Yes.
was talking about all the episodes that he loved, and then he didn't watch the Miley Cyrus one. Kara and I watched all of them.
So good.
Such a good TV show. Some of them are hard to watch, some of them are fun to watch, but somehow you have some connection to Black Mirror.
Oh.
Somehow.
I do a little bit.
Epic transition.
We're
I was like,
segueing. That is a good trend.
Yeah, so I was like, well, let's talk about that because
Right. So I'm making a horror anthology movie, and I'm also writing a book about horror anthology films. So Black Mirror is not exactly horror, but I decided that I should include it in the book because there's enough horror in it, I think, to lump it in.
depending on the episode for sure.
Right.
Yes.
So the episode I decided to focus on was Black Museum, which is one of my favorites.
Yes.
But then it also has a structure very similar to horror anthology movies, except especially the classic ones from the 60s that are kind of the focus of my book. So I reached out to the editor over, God, how did I find him? I think I might have emailed him. I might have found
Of
him.
that episode?
Of that episode.
Okay.
Yep. And so we're talking about the film editor, not the story editor. And I asked him all these kind of questions about structure and how he put the episode together. Because, putting something together that one is an episode in a series and has to match a certain tone.
Yep.
But then also has 3 micro stories within it. That's no easy task.
So this is the one with the girl, and she ends up at the museum,
Yep.
and her father is
Black Panther's sister.
Yep.
Yep. And there's a great twist at the end, so we shouldn't reveal the
Right.
twist.
No.
yeah, I haven't
Right.
seen this episode yet.
It's
So-
good.
So,
it's so
right.
good.
It
I have
seems
a-
like she just strolls in there.
Yeah. I
But
have
she's
a
there for a reason.
I have a that episode, how it references a lot of other Black Mirror
There's
episodes.
little Easter eggs throughout the whole thing.
Yes.
I've loved that attention to detail, and that's a small part of what it just keeps you. It's like, oh, there's that.
Well,
it keeps
yeah,
you turned.
when we were
like,
watching it, I was like, Jeremy, look at that.
Yeah.
Jeremy, look at that.
Right. That was another reason why I wanted to focus on that episode for the book, because typically in anthology series, so like Twilight Zone, for
okay,
instance.
Just an anthology. Define that word for me, because it's a rough.
Sure. So in reality, it is kind of a rough definition. For my purposes, it is long form content that is comprised of short form content.
Got it.
So like a feature length film that maybe has 5 or 6 short films within it, or a TV series in which each episode focuses on a different setting or different set of characters.
Perfect. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, there's usually like if there is a connection, it's like a tenuous, like tangential connection. There's not like a through character.
Well,
Right.
I've got
Got
like
it.
the Queen's Anthology piano book, so it's got like specific
Got
Queen
it.
songs in the piano book.
And in the broader sense of the word, shows like Fargo, which we were talking about earlier, and American
Yes.
Horror Story, those are also referred to as anthology series. True Detective's another great one. I'm not focusing on those because in my mind those are more like macro stories because
Yes.
they take an entire season to tell one single story.
Yes.
And then in the next season, they move on to some unrelated story. So in a sense, they are anthologies. But my book is reaching out to independent filmmakers. So
Cool.
most indie filmmakers are not setting out to create an entire season of TV,
Right.
So this is about, taking short form content and making longer form content out of it. And getting back to Black Museum, all the Easter eggs I thought were great because, it kind of changes the nature of the whole series where you kind of start to think like, okay, like, is this a shared universe?
Right.
And if you're a critical viewer, which I think most Black Mirror viewers are, then you
Right.
start looking back and looking for plot holes and conflicting things and conflicting
Yes.
technologies that couldn't exist in the same
Right.
universe. So I think that's an episode that for me makes this series as a whole way more interesting. As an anthology filmmaker, it's just impeccably put together.
So the name Black Mirror, Kara and I had watched a couple episodes before it finally dawned on me, and it hit me like a ton of bricks were sitting there, and I just like right in the middle of an episode, I'm like, Black Mirror, that's the front of a cell phone.
Yeah.
Because it's like how Black Mirror is a story about how technology, influence us and, can cause like awesome benefits, but all the negative benefits that come out. And they just really, some episodes, they really focus on some points. Like I like the one with all the likes and the upvotes and everything.
Oh, yeah.
With,
With Ron Howard's daughter.
yeah.
What is
in
that?
it.
What's that one called? I forget what it is.
I don't remember.
I can't remember. And then
a good
there's the
one.
one
That's a very good one.
with John Hamm. And
White Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then San Junipero
I was
is
going to
a,
say San Junipero was one of our favorites.
yeah, is a much better one. And then, but the newest season, I loved all of them. There's the Iceland one. Oh, it's just
The only one from the new season I've watched is the Miley Cyrus one.
okay.
I really
What did you
liked
think of that one?
Well, I watched it because it was getting a lot of hate on the internet.
Got it.
I
And,
know.
and I'm like, all right, well, this is the first one I'm going to get into. I didn't dislike it, but I watched it with my wife, and we had seen, I think we had watched a handful of others together. I've watched all of them. But she was kind of like, and I felt the same way. It didn't really feel like a Black Mirror ending.
No.
So it's
I
a little
was- yeah.
soft
Yes.
compared to all the other ones.
Well, I feel like as the season's gone on, that's kind of what they've done. Like the first season, it's like every single. I told Jeremy, I was like, I don't know how many of these I can watch in a row. I just feel
Yeah.
so drained.
Did you
after
watch
each one?
Did you
What?
watch Bandersnatch?
No, I haven't seen that either. And
That one I
really
think
need
is
to.
is better. It's more like the older ones. I was so sad when they announced it because I wanted more Black Mirror content.
Right.
But it has like an older Black Mirror style to it.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the conclusion I came to with the Miley Cyrus episode, and the fact that Miley Cyrus is in it, is certainly informing this statement.
Yeah.
But it felt like an episode of Black Mirror that was for a younger audience,
Right.
which is like
True.
that's totally cool. Like
Right.
and I love anthologies for kids like Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yes.
Like I grew up on that stuff. And there should be horror and, really introspective sci-fi for kids.
Right.
And I'm not going to knock the episode because it wasn't necessarily for me. I think it was for a different audience, and that's cool. Like they should expand their reach.
If only Star Wars fans would understand what you just said.
Oh, amen.
Not
Right.
all Star Wars content is made for you.
Yeah,
you
for,
know.
Right.
for 50-year-old people.
Yes, it's
Right.
Yeah.
George Lucas has a thing where if you make content for younger people, you have a lifelong fan.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and that's exactly what happened to a lot of Star Wars fans. Is they're lifelong. So okay, this is so cool. So you're doing an anthology book,
Yep.
an anthology
Film.
film.
Yep.
Sorry, I have a couple of questions about the book still.
Sure.
Too,
Yeah.
So
Well, that's why I was just trying to get a little clarification.
Oh,
So
yeah.
is the
Go
is
ahead.
the book is it a story that's
No.
inspired, or like a documentary of things that you, or like a, what would you call it? Well, you explain it.
Excuse me, still sick. Getting over that cough. So it's a nonfiction book. So when I was endeavoring to make the feature film, I wrote a grant, which I ended up getting from the Minnesota State Arts Board.
Cool.
But I had 6 months where between writing the grant and finding out if I got the money. And I'm like, well, I'm not just going to do nothing for 6 months.
Right.
So I'm like, I should do as much research on anthology films as I can. So I went on Amazon and I'm looking for a book about anthology films because I love books about filmmaking. And I couldn't find anything. So I'm like, well, shoot, I should just write the book that I think should be available.
That is so cool.
It was, I mean, when I had that thought, I really wasn't considering how much work it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it.
So
I get it.
I started by just watching films and doing critical analysis, and I realized that wasn't going to be enough because what is my analysis in the end? So
Right.
I started reaching out to filmmakers, and that's going to be the thing that I think really draws a reader in.
Absolutely.
So I've gotten the showrunner from The Simpsons, and he's talking about the Treehouse of Horror episodes. I got the editor of the cult classic Trick or Treat. I got a director who helmed over 15 episodes of both Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That is
And
just
Wow.
I mean,
awesome.
the list just goes on. I mean, the caliber of like film professional that has been willing to give me their time has just been
That's
crazy.
amazing.
So, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's it.
So like what is so cool the way that you just told that story, it's like awesome because I think that's YouTube for a lot of people or channels that become big is they had a very specific niche with a lot of other people who felt the same way and then they created content that filled that gap.
Sure.
And as time goes on, more and more stuff like that is kind of hard to find. So to see you chisel out a little piece of something you're so passionate about that you can create
Right.
out there for people, I think it'll be really well received because Chris talked about a lot of amateur filmmakers start with horror. And so, if they've got a book that you can combine your critical analysis and then real world interactions with people into like one place, that's a really great starting point. If I was going to make a horror, anything or
Excuse me. That was. I hope you can edit it.
No, it's staying in now. Once you mention it, it has to be in the episode.
That was just like gross on all levels. Yeah, I mean, I think there's
That's going to
certainly
be the thumbnail now.
just be like,
You just gave us 3 different versions of it.
I certainly think that there's a great audience out there for the book, right? And I mean, a lot of filmmakers are genre fans, and genre being like action, sci-fi, superhero, crime thrillers, horror. But when you think about like what of those genres can you afford to do, with no money, it becomes horror. So a lot of people start out with horror, even if, like me, in their heart of hearts, they want to be making a Batman movie.
Right.
Horror is a great place to get started and a great place to just learn the craft.
That is so cool.
So, sorry, really quick. One of the things that I thought was really interesting about you talking about like the range of people that were willing to give their time is it speaks to how important they think it is that people have access to this information too. Because like once you get somewhere and once you learn stuff, like you know how hard it was to get that information,
right?
And it's and they're like I feel this 100% every time somebody asks me a question about filmmaking. It's like I feel almost like an obligation to be able to share because it was so hard for me to find out X, Y, or Z. This is all sort of pre-internet for me, like learning stuff. But like being able to pass that information on too is like sounds like it's important to them. And then you came along with a project that seemed like it was appealing for them to be able to share that information.
I think you're spot on with that. And I think my request was kind of an unusual request for them.
Right.
I think if you're a guy who's like, I'll go back to his name's Ron Oliver, the guy who directed for Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps. I'm sure, if a random person that he meets finds out, in Los Angeles that he's done this, they're like, oh, will you read my script?
Right.
I would guess that he gets probably asked that a lot. Like, hey, check out my script or, but to say like, tell me about your career and how you did it and I want to learn more about you and your, what you've done is super interesting and a lot of people can learn from it. I think that's probably kind of, a request that a lot of these folks don't get every day. And then also, speaking to not just directors, but also, I guess, like more of the craftspeople, like the cinematographers and the editors, and like tell me about your craft. I think a lot of people are really eager to talk about their craft and maybe don't have a ton of opportunities to do it. So,
I have a theory that people don't do things because there's the more barriers between you and the thing you're trying to achieve, it just might feel like it's not worth it. And so for a lot of people, it might be hard for them to reach out to people because they don't think there's going to be any payoff in the end. Right. So you've done that. And so what you've kind of maybe showed, and we can, people will take that, reach out to these people. If there's somebody that, that you guys are, are passionate about, it's like reach out reach out to them because you never know what's going to happen. When Chris told me that you got to talk to R.L. Stein.
No, that was Matt. He got shouted out by R.L. Stein.
Yeah, so I did reach out to R.L. Stein.
That was Goosebumps, right?
Yep, he's the author of Goosebumps. He did reply. He declined to be interviewed. But that's part of it too. Because,
right.
I mean, honestly, I've reached out to a lot of, I'll call them like A-listers.
Right.
The Stephen Kings and R.L. Steins of the world.
Yep.
I didn't hear back from a lot of them, and R.L. Stein, I did hear back from him, and he gave me a reason, and I was like, that's really great.
That's really cool.
That's
instead
cool
of like leaving you hanging.
Time,
But okay, you mentioned Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yes.
That show for me, it was probably targeted to me because I'd watch it on Nickelodeon. I think it came on at like 6:30, and at the time I would watch it would be late at night, or 6:30 was late at that time because like bedtime might have been 7:30 or 8.
Right.
So it was like something. Or if when I got home from school, I would watch that, and I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? It was a perfect amount of horror for me at that age, or scary. It's just enough to pique your, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
ooh, I don't want to go in the basement right now because it's dark
Maybe
down
that's
there.
why I
It's
never
like,
watched horror, because I didn't watch Goosebumps and I didn't watch.
yeah, you didn't get eased into it.
Right.
It's like, so.
Well, like Keith was saying, like there has to be an entry point for you
Right.
to be able to grow with the genre.
And actually, I asked Al Jean about that. Our conversation was over private message on Twitter. He's the showrunner for The Simpsons. And I asked him if, the writer's room, are they talking about how this could be a kid's entry point into horror? Because it was my entry point into
Right.
horror. And he said, yeah, like, we're very aware of that. He goes into it in a little bit more detail, which I couldn't remember offhand, and I'll save for the book anyway. But yeah, and then Ron Oliver talking about Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark. They're very conscious that this stuff is for kids, and hopefully these kids will become lifelong horror fans and down the line get into the stuff that they shouldn't be watching when they're kids.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, and with The Simpsons, that was my introduction to the movies like The Shining.
Right.
Was through a Simpson episode.
we
and then
would-
I watched The Shining, and I'm like, that's from Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah,
And it's like,
right.
So, and that's cool.
The scariest stuff I've seen is what's the Johnny Depp schizophrenic?
Oh,
Psycho.
Secret
Window.
Yeah, Secret
Oh,
Window.
That's like
Johnny Depp, Secret
The
Window, absolutely.
Secret
He's
Window
a
is like
writer in
the
the woods,
scariest
right?
movie
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I've
a good
ever
movie.
seen.
That is a really good movie.
Yeah.
I had nightmares.
He's eating the corn at the end,
Yeah.
That he buried her body. Their bodies, right? Their bodies?
Yeah.
Oh, spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this movie's like 15 years old. If you haven't seen it, too bad. Buries their bodies and then grows the corn over it, then eats the corn. It's like,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
and then he goes
Yeah.
outside and
See, that
sees
was-
the
that was a
dog with
scene-
the screwdriver in the head.
Man, it's all coming back to me. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
since
Secret
I've watched
Window.
Okay,
that was
thing
the.
is like burned into my brain.
it. And that was a Stephen King one, too. So
Okay,
He knows
okay.
what he's doing.
Random movie that I was watched it just to make fun of. It was Killer Clowns from Outer Space on Netflix many years
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
Please tell me, have you seen that?
I don't think I've seen it. I'm familiar with it.
You
Is that 80s?
It's like 80s.
I'm sure
Is
I'd
that
love
the
it.
bubble gum one where they?
I don't know. I didn't watch it with you though, but
I've watched.
I've
one
seen like
where
the
there's-
beginning of it and I turned it off. I was like, I want a bad horror movie. It's like, nope, this is way too far on the
Like
bad
too
end.
too bad.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
nope, I want like Critters, not this.
yeah.
How did the clowns kill people? In yours?
They drug him to the spaceship and then turned him into bubblegum, I think.
Yeah,
They
okay.
hung him up
Okay.
upside down and
Yeah,
like
and
turned
then
him into
these bubblegum
bubblegum.
things. Yeah, okay, I've
Yeah,
I've
and then
seen
it's
that
so
one.
funny. And then, of course, at the end, the clown pulls up in a clown car, and then like 20 alien evil clowns get out and wreak
Nice.
havoc on the
I
city.
understand now why people hate clowns. Like,
Yeah, well,
and
yeah.
the clown.
Well, there's other movies,
Well, yeah, but then like I feel clowns have always
Oh,
kind of
It,
been the
yeah.
central thing. Not the central, but like something in all horror movies.
Well, so the interesting thing that I've heard people talk about that is like, so because like the clown is supposed to be a representation of like fun and joy, so when you can corrupt something like that that's supposed to be, I'm going to take a little step further back from this. Humor and horror work very similarly in that there's a subversion of expectation. A humorous sentence ends with something unexpected, but it makes you laugh. A horror scenario ends with something unexpected that makes you terrified. But it's a very, very similar mechanism. So when you take something that's supposed to be humorous, and then you turn it into something horrifying, it can totally taint that thing forever because you can never tell now whether or not this is setting up to be something that's funny or setting up to be something that's gonna make you like not want to turn the lights off.
That's
Yeah.
really cool, Chris.
Well, and I think the Batman Joker dichotomy, to come back around, is great because the Joker is he looks like he should be silly, but he's actually
Right.
horrifying.
Right.
And Batman looks like he should be horrifying, but
And
he's
he's
actually
awesome,
he's
right.
your saving grace.
Yeah,
he's the one
that's
who's gonna
really
get you out of
cool.
there.
That's really cool.
So it's a great dichotomy there.
Yes.
That's cool.
Oh, such cool things. I having you on as a guest, this has been like one of my favorite conversations so far. So is there anything about your book that you want, any other final things about your book you wanted to share with us? Anything like release or
Well, I
anything?
got nothing set in stone.
Okay.
I'm going to be submitting to publishers, and if no one bites, which probably no one will, or if the traditional deals don't suit what I want to do, I'll be self-publishing.
Yep.
So that is called the Horror Anthology Handbook, and my movie is called Gravedigger Dave's Halfway House, and I hope that both of these will be ready in early spring of 2020.
Cool.
Nice.
So yeah.
Cool. I think people will be interested.
I think so
Is-
too.
I
so
absolutely think
Not to
people-
put you on the spot, but is the trailer for Gravedigger Dave available anywhere for people to
No,
watch?
I don't have
Okay.
anything ready like that yet. Hexagon Motion Pictures is my website. There's a little bit on there now, just in the way of synopsis and some pictures and stuff, but that's where you can go if you want to look for more stuff.
So, okay, and so we hit on the book, but really quickly, what can you share about your movie or it's a movie
Yep.
Yes.
that
Yep.
consists of short stories.
Yeah, so I'll give the 2 to 3 sentence pitch. This is a horror anthology film with grant funding from the Minnesota State Arts Board, and it tells the ghost stories of St. Louis County.
Oh my goodness.
Right, so we've been
okay.
to
Okay.
we've been to a bunch of different locations: the Greyhound Bus Museum, North Shore Theater, Duluth Depot, and the film is hosted by my original character, Gravedigger Dave, who's played by the endlessly talented Matt Rasmussen, who's also a part of Ghostbusters North.
Oh, cool.
And
Dude just
so
does it all.
He does it all. So the hook of the movie is that Gravedigger Dave is going to tell some stories that are true. He's going to tell some stories that are false, and it's up to the audience to decide which are true and which he's made up.
Oh, that's cool.
That's so
Some.
cool. Now I absolutely want to see this.
Yeah.
I've gotten
For
to see little
real.
bits and pieces, and I'm really excited about it. That's the benefit of working with Keith.
It's coming together. Well, the
man.
benefit of me working with you is that I got introduced to Rise of the Podcast.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Make sure you
give it
subscribe. No.
So yeah.
So, and just like if you ever want to go out sometime and just like I don't know, like do photos or work on something together, I'm totally down for that.
Let's do it,
Yeah.
man.
because
Let's
it's
do
like
it.
that sounds like a blast.
This
or
has
at
been
least
great. Thank you so much for having me on the
Yes,
podcast. It's,
yes.
it's been fun to talk all things just geek culture. So it's awesome.
I love hearing stories about the area, so I can't wait
Oh,
to.
there's some good ones. There's
to
there's
see
a
that.
lot more paranormal activity in this area than I ever dreamed of. So.
Well, I was in a play at the Depot, Sound of Music, back in 2004. 2012. 2002. Sorry, I was 14.
Oh my gosh,
I
there's so
know.
many numbers that just flew around.
2002. And I remember them talking about the ghost.
So
At the Depot.
Should I tell you a little bit about the Depot
Yeah.
Ghost? There is a picture. You guys know photo bursts, so you take 3
Yep.
photos in a row with one click of the button. So these photos are 3 frames. It's faster than I can even talk. It's 1, 2, 3.
Right.
And these pictures are taken at a wedding. In one picture, there's a father and a bride dancing. They're the only ones on the dance floor. In the second picture, there's a little girl sitting on the floor with her knees up. And in the third picture, she's gone.
Cool. That is
So-
crazy.
Creepy.
So that-
oh my gosh.
That is where that seems to be the root of a lot of the Depot ghost stories, and there are more stories than that. But yeah, it's pretty
Wow.
cool.
That is super cool. Well, I am super excited. Thank you so much for coming down and
Yeah,
being on
thank
Rise
you.
of the Podcast.
It's been great.
I want to
It's
just say
amazing.
really quick before we leave, you're going to be having a panel at DuluCon, which is going to be October 19th is when you're going to be there. DuluCon is October 18th and 19th, but on 19th, so look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to sneak away and come to your panel because I'm super excited
Cool.
to actually hear that, and we're going to get you put on the website for that.
Sweet.
And announce that. So if you want to see more of Keith, come down to DuluCon on October 19th. And I want you to come back again sometime. So
I agree.
Absolutely.
I hope this
Yeah.
isn't
We
the
should
last
have
time.
Keith and AJ just so
Yes.
they can hardcore nerd.
Just
Well,
talk Batman the whole time.
We
Exactly.
have an extra chair.
Well, when
we
you're-
just need our next studio. And when we do that,
Stage 3.
Stage 3, we will have you and AJ on it for sure. But
Wonderful.
I'd love to have you back. So
Cool.
that's all I have. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Remember, if you like this podcast, subscribe and comment and let us know what you think if you're excited about Keith's book and his movie. I'm super excited. And Kara, do you have anything else for?
Give us a thumbs up, hit the like button, hit the bell to be notified whenever we upload anything new. And as always, may the force be with you.